Hi, I'm Jalen Rose, and welcome to the Renaissance Man podcast, proudly presented by the New York Post, a show where we cover trends in fashion, entertainment, current events, and everything in between. My next guest is a legend in hip hop. Joseph Cartagena, aka Fat Joe, is a platinum recording artist who's been on the charts for decades with continuous hits like Lean Back, Make It Rain, and What's Love? And he's continued to boss up over the years as an entrepreneur and as a philanthropist. You continue to hear from my brother, and I learned from my brother that yesterday's price is not today's price. It is my honor to welcome Fat Joe to the program. What up, my brother?
Yo, what's up, Jalen, boy? What's going on, man?
All good. I appreciate you taking the time. And I'm a huge fan. I consider you family, and I've known you for a very long time. So don't be surprised when I'm asking you questions that you know I know the answer
to. We got to be informative.
Absolutely. Tell me, what was it like for you growing up in the Bronx?
In the Bronx was a lot of love. We didn't have much. We was really, really poor. The Bronx looked like Vietnam, like a war zone, like Ukraine. No BS. Buildings was all tore down. The schools was tore down. But we had love. And from those hard times of oppression, that's where hip hop was born. And so some people, you can say you from LA, you from East LA, you from Compton, you from Riverside. But I'm from the Bronx where hip hop was born, like birth. So my brother used to carry Grandmaster Flash's crates. Ooh. I used to see Melly Mel. My grandmother lived across the street from Mr. Ness. So all these little Rodneys, see everybody, you name it, hip hop, I used to watch them as a baby, 5, 6 years old. And my brother started rapping. That's what made me want to rap, trying to be like him. But most of all, we had a strong family unit. We loved each other and everybody supported each other.
What was it like being from the Bronx, as you mentioned, the birth of hip hop? Like the first time I got exposed to Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel, was like broken glass everywhere. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Yeah. But you were living it. So what was those days like?
Well, I was just a kid, but I loved music. You know, the way it was like disco music had the game on Smash. And then the Bee Gees had it on Smash. And then they started hip hop. And then it was stuff like the ha.
Rapping Duke.
And then you had Blondie. Fat Bob Ready is that's cool. And then, like you said, the message was the true meaning of going viral from day one. So if you walk down a building, a project building, I live in a project building with 145 apartments. And so every floor you went to, it was like, every floor, like every floor was playing the message. And so, you know, it was like something beautiful, something fresh. You know, people were tired of living hard and they was just having a good time. And so I used to b-boy, I used to break dance. I used to be in a group called The Breakers Revenge. So I used to do the electric boogie. You know what I'm saying? I wrote graffiti. That's where Joey Crack comes from. And TS and Tats. So I pretty much did every element. I sucked at DJing. I could never be good at DJing. I tried, but I couldn't catch it.
So what about like classic things that helped birth hip hop? As you mentioned, and KRS-One always made sure that he let everybody know that hip hop was more than just rapping on the microphone. It's graffiti, it's how we dress, it's how we speak. So
beatboxing, it's graffiti,
yes,
it's DJing, it's MCing,
breakdancing,
b-boying.
So tell me about the days, because as somebody that has spent so much time in New York, it always fascinated me, especially when I saw Crush Groove and I saw Raymond. He's like the white one.
B Street was filmed in my hood. It was like 3 blocks away.
Ooh.
So Lee, B Street, all that where you see the train, that's Prospect Ave. That's my hood. Like, so we watching movies about our hood. You know, rest in peace, K. Slade, Desi Dez. He was in the first hip hop movie called Style Wars, and he was writing on the trains with one arm case. And so, you know, it was so crazy. You know, I watched Melly Mel and them. They pulled up in 190 Benzes, white 190s. Ooh. It was 5 back to back. We never even knew what Benz it was. They pull up, and I remember one day I'm watching Melly Mel on the Grammys with Shaka Khan, and he had the glove, and I was like, yo, the next day he was playing basketball in the hood. So it was just like surreal for me, man. It's almost like my daughter, her aunt is Angie Martinez, Mary J. Blige, her godfather's Khalid. She grew up thinking everybody's on TV.
Right.
You know, so it was surreal for me.
So what about your days as a break dancer? And tell me some of your favorite tags when you were doing graffiti.
Man, you know, graffiti's still my life. You know, I still, if I could have done graffiti and not get in trouble, I'd have been hitting trains and everything right now. So it's a passion, it's an addiction, and it's a subculture that if you're into graffiti, you know, I still see, like I just seen the Coke. Coke 2 is like one of the kings of graffiti. I just seen a brand new throw up and it said 2022. So I'm like, damn, he been rocking for like 30 years. So if you're looking for it, you see it's like things are moving around that normal people don't see. My moms and pops won't see it, but I could see it. So I would be in my father's station wagon, looking at all the graffiti, knowing the names. If we went to Brooklyn, there was a guy named OS, you know, to my uncle's house. So very passionate about graffiti. You wasn't a real graffiti writer if you didn't go to the hardware store and steal the paint. You couldn't buy the paint. You couldn't buy the paint. You had to steal it.
Right.
We used to call it racking.
You had to be authentic, huh?
Man, I got my ass bust quite a few times by the hardware store owners when they caught me stealing that spray paint. I mean, it was everything in graffiti is about risk. You know, climbing up rooftops, you know, hiding underneath the trains, running from the cops. I guess it's a big adrenaline rush. You know, and everybody's out for fame. Everybody's out to be king, all city. It's crazy.
So now people see you as Chopra and they get a chance to follow you on IG. But if I look deeper into the box score, the group that you started is called Terror Squad. Yes. So how did you guys get that name?
Well, it was a graffiti crew. And so we was terrorizing TS. And so, you know, I started that crew, but I got to mention that I started with Digging in the Crates. Finesse, Buck Wild, rest in peace, Big L, Showbiz, AG, Diamond D. And so that's the crew that brought me out. They're from my projects as well. And so, well, most of us, me, Diamond, Finesse, and Showbiz. And so they started me, and it's almost like I started Khalid and TS, but then he went on to do We the Best. So I was always an entrepreneur. I was always a visualizer, a creative, and I always knew I wanted to go as an executive in the business. So I started the Terror Squad. And so Big Pun. Remy Ma.
No doubt. How about not only did you start Terror Squad, but as a terrific platinum artist yourself, and you've been a part of so many iconic hip hop moments. and you just mentioned Big L. Remind the world about the freestyle session that happened between he and JayZ. Who was in the room? What went down?
Well, it happened on Stretch and Barbito. Some people say Big L won. Some people say JayZ is out there on YouTube somewhere. And so they just started going flow for flow. You know, L, you know, he was one of those guys, he would have been a big boy if he wouldn't have got killed tragically. And he's almost like a Biggie Smalls, you know, rest in peace. Biggie got killed for he had nothing to do with it. So Big L got killed for he had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? He was just affiliated with the wrong crowd. And somebody seen him and said, it, I'm gonna take it out on Big L. Big L wouldn't have passed away, he would have been a JayZ, a Nas, you know, on that level.
What did you think as you bring up, like, you know, discord in hip hop? Because as a legend in the game and an OG and Terror Squad, I'll just say carry weight. What did you feel as the East Coast, West Coast beef was happening?
I felt offended because there was no East Coast, West Coast beef. So Ice Cube would walk around New York and come perform at the Apollo and it'd be sold out. All the hustlers, everybody be up there going crazy. We love Snoop Dogg. We love Dr. Dre. And so we felt disrespected by it because we like, damn, man, we've been with NWA. We love y'all, man. How y'all gonna come at us like East Coast, West Coast? And so I felt offended. At the time I was young, I was still crazy. 1 foot in the game, 1 foot in the street. So I had that mentality of they better not with me because I don't really gotta go over there. You know, I wasn't that big yet. Now, when you big like Joey Crack now, you got to go do some shit in LA. Like you got to do an interview award show, something. You got to go to meetings.
You got sponsors and endorsers.
Yeah, you got to be in LA a couple of times a year. So it's a different, but at that time, I was like, yo, I ain't got to go out there, right? And so, you know, it was out of hand. We lost Biggie, we lost Pop, 20-something years old. You know, so sad. And they're so legendary, iconic, you know, martyrs for hip hop. And so, you know, but I never thought it was about nothing, the East Coast, West Coast. I never, you know, I grew up with hip hop. I grew up, hip hop started Latino and Black from day one. You go into the photos, you go into everything, Ruby D, fantastic. Charlie Chase for the Cold Crush. I go Crazy Legs, all of them. And so the way I was taught hip hop was that it was diverse. And so Zulu Nation had Asian brothers and sisters. Like, so I felt like it was one family inclusion. I never felt like this is New York, that's LA. I felt like it's hip hop. You know, no matter where you from, I love Humpty Hump. You know what I'm saying? I love MC Breed. I love, you know, I didn't understand
it. And I see and I respect that perspective. And as you start naming people, and I start thinking about like your status in the game, I have to ask you, like, who are your top 5 artists of all time?
Man, I don't know. It's tough, man. It's tough. You got JayZ, you got JayZ, Biggie, Nas. You got Rakim. And then and I gotta say Pun. You know what I'm saying? Just because of Pun. Now, if you gave me a 10 clip, Eminem would be somewhere in there. You know what I'm saying? You got
right.
KRS would be in there. Top 10 of all time. Snoop would be there. I would go Snoop and Dre, and we'll shut it down. That's something. If I was stuck in an island and I had to hear 10 artists forever, it's done.
So I got another one for you. What about the 3 classic albums, front to back, Joey Crack can listen to, dopest of all time?
Illmatic. Nas. Think it's the greatest hip-hop, pure hip-hop album ever, right? I'll take Chronic, Dr. Dre, and Snoop. And this might not be popular for nobody, but damn, I wish I could get 5, but Best of Both Worlds, JayZ, R. Kelly. That's one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time.
That was headed somewhere. That was headed somewhere before his issues got exposed and whatnot. That was headed somewhere, no doubt about it. And as you acknowledge Jay and R. Kelly, I have to ask you, because you've been an artist at a time where you were a street artist, an underground artist, but yet you still was able to make R&B type tracks. Like, people hear that now, Joey Crack, and think it's normal. Like, you were one of the first people to do that. Talk about your ear for that sound and how making those type of records were game changing in the industry and for you.
Well, I came out so hardcore. My name was Fat Joe the Gangster on the tapes. Flow Joe, Fat Joe the Gangster. But my promo was like Tony Montana cutting the dude in the bathroom with the chainsaw. That's how they first saw me on the box and all that, and army fatigue. And so the last thing, I thought I would end up MOP, Gangstar, hardcore to the death. And, you know, I would go to guys like the Track Masters and everybody making the hits, and I'd be like, yo, give me a hit, give me a hit. And they would give me a tape with just hardcore. They wanted Fat Joe to be that gangster. And so DJ Ron G, he's the first person who gave me a beat that was like a hit beat. And we turned that into We Thuggin' with R. Kelly. I don't want to talk too much about R. Kelly, but the truth is the truth. My first hit was with him, We Thuggin'. And so we had the beat. I had met him All-Star Weekend in Washington, D.C. And he said, yo, Crack, I'm a fan. Let's do a song. And we did it. And it was a hit, went #1.
And what about other artists that you went on to collaborate with? Hits with people like Ashanti, J-Lo, like the list goes on and on.
Yeah. Man, I've been able to make music with the greats of like LL Cool J, Butcher Bonton. You know, I made an album with Biggie Smalls.
What? Hold on. What?
Yeah, we made
Hold on. I need to hear more. Let me hit the brakes. You got to tell me more about you and Biggie did an album? Yeah.
And so he was like, yo, you're going to be the Spanish Dawn. I'm going to be the Black Dawn. You know, but it was at the time of the East Coast, West Coast. And, you know, we dissing people and all that. So Puffy buried that because it's for the best, because we love the West Coast. We love everybody. We positivity. But we cut a bunch of records. Not a bunch, but we cut a couple of records. Supposed to be an album, Biggie, Fat Joe. And then, you know, I think Tupac had died, and it was like, yo, man, get rid of that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying?
And not to double down on it, but I have to ask, can you think of the name of it? Or a name or a title of something?
I don't think it the name, but it was just violence. It was just like foul shit. You know what I mean? It was just hard. You know? And so, you know, it was like that. You know, and it was them beats. It was them Biggie beats, like them Hitman beats, some,
Mm.
if we're gonna die, we're gonna kiss your ass goodbye. Like that type of shit. Some fucking music with the violins and shit. Crazy.
You
Shout
right.
out to
But
D-Dot
that would have been a classic musical release, but that I'm so very glad didn't happen because, like you said, that would have caused true bloodshed. Because I
mean,
know
it really
you guys
was bloodshed, but it's because I was working with Big because I had only put out 2 albums. They did all right. Jealous Woods Envy and Represent, but because
classic
Atlantic heard, but street shit. But Atlantic Records had heard that I was doing an album with Biggie, and they infiltrated, and they gave me my own record label, and that's how I signed Don Cartagena and everything to Atlantic. So they they heard I was Biggie. They was like, "Yo, what's up with this guy, Fat Joe? That Biggie gonna do an album with him?" And they gave me a big deal. So I went to Puff. I said, "Yo, Puff, they give me my own record label, overhead, millions of dollars." He said, "Playboy, I don't believe that." So when they gave me the contract, I gave it to Puff. And I said, "Look, he ready?" He said, "Playboy, go get that. I ain't giving you that. Go get that." And that's how I got the Terror Squad label through Atlantic and put out my music through there.
And both of you guys, Puff, I'm talking about, end up bossing up. And it seems like you guys were a part of a New York hip hop movement to Florida. Talk about that reinvention and how you see
what
that
happened to me is
I
grew up at a time where it was friendly competition in New York. It wasn't really ego and competition. So we would go to every other artist's video. We would rock with other artists. And then New York got really crazy when like 50 Cent blew, and then Cameron and them was dissing Nas and it was just a real ugly time. And so, I had already had this relationship with Cool and Dre and with DJ Khaled. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna go to Miami because it's all love there. And so we unified, we signed Khaled. I discovered Khaled. We put his albums together, but at the same time, we was there working with Ross on every record, Pitbull on every record, Lil Wayne. Katrina happened, and so Birdman and Lil Wayne came to Miami. And so you see songs like I don't know what it is, whatever like that. Holla at me, baby. Or you see Taking Over, or you see I'm So Hood. We was just collaborating with each other. And it reminded me of the early days when I used to work with all the other artists. Miami, they didn't have no egos. Nobody thought that, to this day, nobody act like they better than nobody in Miami. Everybody act like, word, all right, let's rock. That's just the vibe.
And also, like, I'm from Detroit. I'm gonna always live there. My driver's license is there, all of that. But you get more bang for your buck in Florida. Okay, the weather is nice.
When you live in this
concrete, be driving those Rolls Royces in New York City in the middle of winter, Fat Joe with the top down.
Can't do it. And you see, for me, it's as simple as a palm tree. I grew up like you in Detroit. I grew up in New York. It's the concrete jungle.
Exactly.
And so when I see a palm tree, I could be dead broke.
Yeah.
Eating a Crystal's burger by a palm tree in Miami and feel like I made it. I won. And so and so I love the weather. I love the people. They nice and they embrace me. So
And you can also be seen with your foot on the wood at multiple NBA games for years. One of the OGs that represent the NBA game, and I appreciate that. So I have to ask you, the Nets and the Knicks are both out of the playoffs. What do you think about what happened with the Knicks this year? And then what do you think about how the Nets got swept by the Celtics?
Well, it's safe to say the Knicks and Nets won the same amount of playoff games this year. 0
Shots fired.
Hate the Nets, man. I'm a hater. And because they were supposed to be our guys. Kevin Durant, I caught Kyrie at Rock Nation. I got on my knees for this guy. I begged him, sweating bullets, coming to the Knicks. Man, I tried so hard to get him to sign the Knicks. JayZ had to hit me up and be like, "Joe, leave the man alone. You had him in the room for a half an hour. Leave him alone. He's going to the Nets. Leave him alone." Broke my heart. And so I'm a hater of the Nets. And the Knicks, Jalen, believe it or not, I love our team. And so we've lost for many years, and I didn't like, certain players didn't work with each other, but I love the youth and the Knicks. Mm-hmm. I think the coach got to play the Knicks more, and we definitely need one more bona fide superstar, Dame Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, just a guy who scores, cold as ice. You need that because you notice we lost a bunch of games this year where we had a lead or it was close, we just couldn't finish it. But if you got one of those clutch, that'll make the whole difference.
So, as you mentioned, you're a diehard New Yorker, and in particular, ride and die for your Knicks. But I have to ask you, I was watching the Nets game, and I almost felt bad for the OG, my brother Spike Lee at the game.
He ain't had no business
I know he'd rather be at the Garden.
That's my brother. He ain't had no business there. Broke my heart. I don't know what he was doing there.
That was just off. I know he had on the Brooklyn Jackie Robinson.
No, I was confused. I'm really confused. Like, you can't catch me going to Brooklyn to watch the Nets play somebody. That's blasphemy. And Spike, he's a diehard Knicks fan, but I don't know what happened at that game. Like, if he wasn't at that game, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right.
Like, it's weird. Man, how many people sent me pictures of that and were like, "Yo, Joe, you see your man?" Because
I know.
Spike is like a mentor to me. He's somebody I look up to, not just as a Knicks fan, just in life. When I met Spike and I worked with him on She's Gotta Have It, I always knew since I was a kid that one day I would work with Spike Lee, and he would, and he gave me the opportunity in night school too, $100 million film.
Wow, that's dope.
He plugged me in with them. I had to audition, but Spike is a mentor, somebody I look up to. One game this year, although it was sad, we played the Nets. Spike comes up to me and says, he taps me in my chest and says, "You can drive me home." So we go out there, we both pissed as hell. We had a 20-point lead. We had a 20-point lead. And we lost the lead. We was walking out, we was so mad. So he getting the Cullinan stars on the roof. And he looks at me, he says, "Now, Joe, do you need all this?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Spike, I only live once. I need this." And so we drive it. And it was such an honor to drive him home. It was like, I felt so privileged to drive Spike home after a Knicks game.
So what is it like to see yourself and how far you've come from humble beginnings in the South Bronx, that now you can drive whatever whip you want to drive through White Castle?
Listen, man, last week we buried a friend, a comrade, somebody who I love dearly, K. Slade, who really helped
Rest in peace,
a lot of
King.
people get in the game and started their careers. And so it just lets you know how vulnerable life is and how short it is. And so I came from nothing, right? And so I made money, and I continue to work hard to make money. And I'm going to continue to spoil myself and my family while I'm here, because I've never seen nobody take it with them in the hearse.
Preach, preach.
Or we never see nobody make a U-turn and come back. Like, yo, that shit was crazy up there. Like, nah. When you go, you go.
Exactly.
And so I don't understand. I got friends that like to save money and I don't know what we're not guaranteed.
No, not at all.
And so it's a humble feeling. And also, I say this, but people get upset with me because they think it's like I'm institutionalized. But no matter how much money I got, I'm still a poor soul. Meaning I never forget where I come from, and I never forget that I could go back. Highly unlikely that I'll go back, but I never forget where I come from. And so if you notice, even in your life, Jalen, you're wiser now, you're smarter, you're a family man, everything you've been through, like commentator, somebody we look up to, but you always still you. That DNA, that soul, your spirit, you're just older and wiser.
Right.
But you always still that same young boy.
Right.
And so that's how I feel. I feel like I'm the same guy from Forest Projects, just wiser, and God's took me through another journey. Now it's our job to come back, not come back. How about, like, I invest in the hood, I got stores in the hood, all that. I mentor the kids. I give back constantly. And I speak up for the voiceless. And then sometimes, people in our business, from being celebrities and being popular, we don't be wanting to get people upset. You know what I mean? But I'll speak on issues that affect our people, meaning the brown and black people, anytime, any place.
Absolutely.
I just went to the White House for the first time.
That's incredible. That is it. And by the way, just think about Joey Crack at the White House. Just those words in a sentence. But what was that experience like for you? You've been doing a terrific job as an activist.
First of all, my moms and my aunts was going ham on my phone. Like they were so proud of me. I mean, this is the first time my uncles, everybody was like, yo, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And I went down there talking about power to the patients. A lot of patients out there are getting taken advantage of. You go to the same hospitals, use the same equipment, use the same doctor. Somebody could pay $300, somebody could pay $3,000. It's the only place we go to that we don't know what we're going to pay. So they can charge you whatever they want.
Wow.
If you went for that jacket and they sold that jacket for $100 in one store and they sold it in another store for $50, you're going to buy it in the $50 store. Same jacket.
Correct.
So it eliminates competition. It eliminates the prices coming down. And so I like to speak up for them because our people are being affected the most by this. So I go in the White House, we sit down. It was the greatest experience of my life. The head of everything was in there. The president of diversity, president of LGBT, president of disability, president of this. And we're sitting there with them. And so I'm start talking about this. So a young lady comes and says, oh, so this is the issue. I said, listen, I'm here to talk about any issue that got to do with the brown and black. Exactly. I'm about all the issues. And so, and that's what I'm about, man.
And it's incredible that you take the time and energy to do that. I really appreciate it. You're helping make society a better place, and we're forever grateful for you. And we need people who are still tied to the streets to also be in the rooms like the White House where their voices can be heard, because you can speak for people that look like us and know what we're thinking. But before I let you get out of here, Joseph Carter Jr., I appreciate you joining me. I'm going to write a column about this in the New York Post. I have a rapid fire segment called Gone in 60 Seconds. You ready to do this?
Let's go.
When you back in New York, what is the first food spot you hitting up?
It's called Casa Della.
You've done a lot of historic collaborations. Name one artist you haven't worked with that you want to work with next.
Dr. Dre.
If you had to drop fat from in front of your name, but needed to use another word to describe yourself, what would it be?
Joey Green Eyes.
Lastly, what's the one piece of advice you would give to up-and-coming rappers today?
Use social media, it's free.
Love and blessings, my brother. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Jalen. Much love.